Caroline, no one was expecting the executive order on travel. Will European leaders adopt a common front against Trump's ban on some Muslim immigrants? Certainly we've seen some people suggesting a need to stand by European values.
Absolutely. European values, that's going to be the focus of this Valletta meeting here. The first EU summit since Donald Trump took office. Donald Tusk, the EU Council President, published a letter just 3 days before the summit urging Europe to remain united after what he described as roaring declarations by the US administration. Donald Tusk, who also said that Donald Trump has not joined Russia, China and radical Islam among the threats against the future of Europe. We actually saw Donald Tusk, the EU Council President, last night upon his arrival in Malta. He didn't want to elaborate on Donald Trump. He said the goal of this meeting was to solve the migration crisis with this continuous flow of refugees coming from Libya and onto the Italian coast. He said an agreement here in Valletta was within reach.
Our main goal for the Malta summit is to stem the flow of irregular migration from Libya to Europe. This is the only way to stop people dying in the desert and at sea, and this is also the only way to gain control over migration in Europe.
Clearly, EU leaders will have to find a very subtle way to deal with Donald Trump's blunt style, especially given the concerns of some countries, including Poland, for example, who have concerns about not alienating a key ally.
How much of an influence will Theresa May have on these talks then, Caroline, looking to play that role that the UK has often played in the past, straddling Europe and the United States, perhaps?
Yes, Theresa May, the UK Prime Minister, wants to act as some kind of bridge between the United States and Europe. She's the only EU leader so far who has physically met with Donald Trump, and she's expected here to urge the EU leaders to increase their defense spending. She will relay the message of Donald Trump that Trump is backing the NATO alliance, and she's also willing to participate in the conversation about the migration crisis. She said that it's not because the UK is leaving the EU that she is not concerned about the migration issue. So clearly a balancing act for Theresa May here in Valletta. The EU leaders are very well aware that she will use this special relationship that the UK is trying to rebuild with the US as leverage in the Brexit negotiations. Theresa May will actually be included in the morning discussions on migration and in the lunch where they're supposed to discuss Donald Trump. But then later in the afternoon, the 27 will meet with the UK once again to discuss the common strategy less than 2 months before Brexit is triggered.